for the last 20, 30 years, been increasingly the way the body politic has wanted to deal with the social issues that African Americans have advanced in the past, so there's economic inequality, mass incarceration. You know, there's a black Supreme Court judge. He just will do nothing to support and uplift the African American community. And so having a black in office, as long as they're disconnected and will not advance programs that will help deal with the socioeconomic inequality in this country, is perfectly acceptable and actually preferable to a good amount of the ruling class of our country.
Well, now that's a very interesting point for us to move to the 2007 United for a Fair Economy report that looked at the relationship between blacks and the Democratic Party. Here is what United for a Fair Economy wrote. For the last half century, African Americans have been the Democratic Party's best friends. While African Americans and Latinos voted blue, they still live in the red. Colorblind policies are not enough. A longer-term agenda specifically designed to close the racial economic gap will be needed to fulfill the dream of Dr. Martin Luther King. In 2008, the Democrats gave us Barack Obama. Is that enough, Diedrich?
Oh, I mean, it's clearly not enough, and you can look at, I mean, Barack Obama, again, got about 95% of the black vote, but yet throughout the 2008 election, I never heard him once mention the fact that in one of the wealthiest countries in the world, a third of black children are living in poverty. And now it looks like under his leadership that a third of black children living in poverty is going to move to 50% of black America, of black children living in poverty, and it's not even being discussed. You know, there's so much discussion about the environmental crisis, the subprime crisis, the financial crisis, but it doesn't seem to be a crisis for African Americans to become even further alienated from the economic wealth of this country.
Glenn, what about the Congressional Black Caucus? Where's the Congressional Black Caucus?
Well, the Congressional Black Caucus has been in the process of deterioration, which you know, on a very personal basis, for some time. The corporate penetration of the caucus has been accelerating since at least 2002, and it's part of this now prevailing corporate doctrine that black progress can be measured by the acceptance of black folks among white folks. So we now see, for example, that every congressman wants to be a senator, and every black congressman who wants to be a senator auditions for that statewide job by not acting like a black congressman. And so the ripple effect of this expansion of black aspirations has been to dilute even those political positions that we do have. They become diluted because the office holders anticipate moving into a wider electoral environment, and the influence of corporate money and the ideological invasion of a kind means that the Congressional Black Caucus cannot be depended upon to be, like black people themselves, the most progressive body in the U.S. Congress.
Marion, you worked on Capitol Hill. Where's the Congressional Black Caucus with respect to these statistics?
Well, I remember, Cynthia, when you were elected, yes. I worked for Congressman Major Owens, as you will recall. You and I went on a congressional delegation trip to Haiti together in 1993. I agree with what Glen has just described in terms of the deterioration of the caucus. As long as the caucus is dominated by the Democratic Party, we're going to have this problem, or dominated by the Democratic Party and whatever few Republicans might also be elected, black Republicans. I'm looking at a broader international way of looking at this. Having worked in human rights in the Caribbean, South America, and in the Balkans, At this point, I live in Italy as well as the United States. I met my husband in the Balkans. We were both working in post-Yugoslavia, and now I live in Rome also. But we have to look at our situation as a human rights situation and as an international one. We, black Americans in the United States, have to start to align ourselves with and get to know the rest of the Afro-descendant diaspora of the descendants of slaves, whether we are in Mexico or Brazil or Costa Rica, Trinidad, also our sisters and brothers, our cousins in the UK, which was the one that brought us here in the first place. There was no United States. And in France, where very interesting things are going on. They have a group called CM98, Committee for the March of 1998, March 23rd, 1998, which is an organization of the descendants of slaves. And they are doing the kinds of things that we're talking about. But we need to work in coordination. But black Americans and American Indians...
the Congressional Black Caucus?
Well, if they won't come along right now, they may come along later. But we have to elect more progressive people. And those of us, we happen to be with the Green Party, we want to see some more progressive people, not just Democrats and not just Republicans elected.
Jared, what do you think about, about the Congressional Black Caucus?
Well, I mean, as Glen outlined, I mean, this is a tremendous problem. And we should note that overall, since 2006, the Democratic Party has gotten more from Wall Street funding than the Republican Party. So it has become the, as Glen said of Obama, the banker's party. So we have a tremendous problem in terms of our two-pronged political system that is intentionally designed to limit what Marion is talking about in terms of electing progressive politicians. What I think we also need is an outside the system, outside the nonprofit structure as well, social and political movement, one that recognizes these structural problems. Because again, remember, King also said of his dream that it had become a nightmare by the end of his life, and that what he was also noting was that there needed to be something more along the lines of what we would call today socialism, not in the Barack Obama socialism for the rich, but a redistribution of wealth to communities who are in constant, and as the Economic Policy Institute says, permanent recession. We need the kinds of infusion of resources that were given to the very people that created this crisis over the past few months that Glen also highlighted, to be given to people who are in these permanent recession situations. But that requires the kind of political movement, the kind of electoral political campaigns that are not going to be allowed to occur within the established two-party system.
Deidre,
We have to understand.
Deidre, we have over 40 members of the Congressional Black Caucus. Isn't the elimination of these racial disparities on their agenda, or shouldn't it be?
Well, they clearly should be. I would like to point out, though, that I think historically the best of black politics and social justice has always come from social movements outside of the electoral political process. And then those in the electoral political process, those elected to office, were reacting to those movements. And I think we don't see as strong movements out there. And I think with that, we've seen that our elected officials have just become more and more a part of the establishment. But I think you're absolutely right. And I've talked to elected officials, and what amazes me is that they truly seem, I don't know if it's they're acting clueless about what needs to happen in order to improve these disparities, or if they truly are that ignorant of their own society's conditions and the kind of radical moves they need to push their party. I mean, and again, the Democrats got 95% of the black vote. We have a Democratic president who is African American. We have a Democratic Congress. We have a Democratic Senate. And it seems like African Americans are getting historically what they've gotten from either political party, which is talk, which is actually, and right now it's even barely talk. And it's something that I'm hoping that as the African American community in 2012 sees that yes, we had a black president, but we're in a worse condition now than we were after 8 years of Bush, will make many of us rethink how we engage electoral politics.
Interesting. So now we are going to move to the commentary given to us by our people on the street about this issue.